Our next guest, he's played everybody from Barack Obama to Malcolm X to one of the Kens in that Barbie movie. And guess what? Now he's bringing Bob Marley to the big screen. His name is Kingsley Ben-Adir. He stars as the iconic musician in the new biopic, Bob Marley, One Love. You just heard the song. The movie is set back in the 1970s after a failed attempt to murder Marley. The experience puts him on a path to try and unify Jamaica through his revolutionary music. Here's a preview of Ben-Adir in action jamming.
We're jamming. To think that jamming was a thing of the past. We're jamming. And I hope this jam is gonna last. No bullet can stop us now. We need to beg, no, we won't bow. Neither can be bought nor sold. We all defend the right that children must unite. Oh, life is worth much more than gold.
We are so happy to say that Kingsley Ben-Adir joins us. As you see in the studio, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I love the movie. I love the movie, and I have to say,
do too.
we'll get back into Bob Marley's life in just a second because I was embarrassed by what I didn't know. But I want to talk about you playing this role because initially you had some hesitation because you don't sing, you say, and you don't play the guitar.
Nope, I don't sing. Good morning, by the way.
Yeah, good
And you're not-
morning.
Nice to be here.
Great to have you.
Yeah.
And you're not Jamaican.
Not
And you're
Jamaican.
not, yeah, there's that too, yeah.
I never had any. My reservations were only when the audition. When I heard of the audition, I really didn't know anything about the film. I didn't know the family were involved. I didn't really know what I didn't know what the vibe was around it. So I was like, I don't feel like this is right. There must be some sort of mistake here. The only thing Bob and I really have in common is that, you know, he has a white parent and a black parent, and he's mixed, and so I just felt like. Yeah, I don't sing, I don't dance, I don't speak Jamaican patois. You know, as long as I just want to make sure everyone knows.
Yeah, that everybody's on board with that.
Yeah.
Because your Jamaican accent too, Kingsley, let's talk about that. It's not a matter for you of just listening to a bunch of tapes. That's not what you did here, because you seem to have captured the accent really well.
For me, you know, spending, you know, a year or two listening to Bob, for me, the Jamaican patois was more like a language. You know, it wasn't a dialect. Normally you have one dialect coach on set. We ended up with a language team. It was like 7 or 8 people on set at the same time, you know. There was the commitment to the authenticity of how Bob spoke, not just the Jamaican patois.
And uniquely to Bob.
How Bob spoke Jamaican patois, because Bob traveled and he picked up words from Europe and America. He was born up in the country, but he grew up in Trenchtown. So there was learning the language, but then there was also kind of understanding how Bob spoke. And everyone who knows Bob remembered, you know, Bob talked the way Bob talked.
Yeah.
And, like, no one talked like Bob.
Yeah.
Bob talked in his own way. So there was a lot of that. What I did, what I could control was how much I listened to him. And Cedella sent me, really early on, Cedella, Bob's daughter, sent me a file, really. And I opened it, and there was hours and hours and hours of Bob talking in interviews that kind of haven't been released or aren't available on YouTube, that only the family have. So I didn't even know that was going to be my process, but I was scrolling, just going, right, well, I better get listening, you know? And then I was listening, and I had to have an honest conversation with myself and say, like, I'm understanding about 70% of what he's saying.
Wow.
So then I started calling all my Jamaican friends and people who I've grown up with to come around and help me translate, and we would, like, transcribe and all. So I ended up transcribing all of those interviews that Cedella sent me, and then we broke it down into Frederick Cassidy's language, which is Frederick Cassidy's a Jamaican linguist who created the Jamaican Patois Dictionary.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it just went on like that.
So think about then what you did to prepare for this role, right? You're learning a language and a dialect, right? And being able to deliver it. And then there's the music part of it.
Yeah.
And then there's the body language.
Yes.
But as
There's
an,
all the body
as an
language.
actor, I go, ooh, that's exciting, I want to do it. I just don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
You know? And I just want to make sure the family know that I'm really starting from scratch, and I need a lot of help. I had so many coaches on this job.
And Kingsley, they still wanted you, despite knowing that you didn't have this, as they still wanted you.
I'm a good talker, so
Yeah, but-
when I met Ziggy, I talked him out.
You say as an actor, that's exciting, but as a person, that could seem like a daunting task. You know, we talked to Lashana Lynch. We had her on the show yesterday, and she talked about how she was checking on you on the set because you were so deep into the character. What is it like diving in wholeheartedly, giving everything you got to Bob, and then having to pull yourself out of that. Was that difficult?
It was a real, when I look back, it was a joy, you know? Like, wasn't sleeping much, for sure, and I think Lashana was probably picking up on just my health, you know, generally, and like, but I just felt there was so much work to do, and Bob was in such a specific headspace in this time. He was working, you know, and he wasn't sleeping. And
he was locked
He
in.
was up at 5 every day writing songs. They were running. They were in the studio till 3. So I guess I kind of was just doing my own version of that, like trying to get into his spirit in some way. I don't know, but Lashana really, she looked out for me. She looked out for everyone. She was the light of the set, you know,
Yeah.
when Lashana
Kind of like
was-
Rita did Bob.
You could feel that light. And what's your headspace like, Kingsley? Because you're working on the Barbie movie at the same time, and you're working on the Bob Marley movie. What's your headspace? Because as we know, they're two very different movies.
Yeah.
Well, I signed up to Barbie before I got the offer for Bob, and I was like, I'm gonna be on this set for 3.5 months, and I really need to start learning the guitar. Like, I didn't want to
Yeah.
waste any time. So I was just finding gaps and moments to start, you know,
Right.
listening to Bob and learning the patois and playing the guitar. So as soon as got a record cut, I would just kind of run behind the Mojo Dojo Casa and do some patois.
Bob's dreadlocks, iconic. They're real, it's a wig, what's the story?
There was a team, like a specialist team who built the hair over many, many months. And yeah, they did an incredible job.
Wow.
And the last line of the movie, could you say it about what his life meant in Bob's voice?
Not in Bob's voice.
I mean, his accent,
He's
yeah.
not-
Yeah, his
I
accent.
won't,
back
I
to
won't
it.
be doing any Jamaican patois this morning or ever again. It was, there's a respect that I have for the language where outside of set, when I
Yeah.
wasn't being, when I wasn't surrounded by
I got you.
Jamaicans who were able to direct and help, I just
course.
wanted to keep it sacred, you know?
Got it.
Yeah.
And the language was the one thing that the studio and the family convinced me at the beginning was going to be the most important.
Well,
Congrats.
Kingsley Ben-Adir, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Incredible work. Bob Marley, One Love is in theaters today, and that is made by Paramount. You know, it's
Proud to say it.